Welcome to the deep dive. So, you're tuning in today, maybe because, well, someone's told you about your nighttime noises. Or maybe you just wake up feeling exhausted, even after a full night.
Uh-huh. That feeling of not being rested.
Exactly. So, today we're tackling snoring. We're using insights from understanding and addressing snoring for better sleep to really get under the hood.
Yeah, our goal is to help you understand the why behind it.
Right. Why it happens, if it's maybe pointing to something more serious, and crucially, what you can actually do about it.
Precisely. It's easy to dismiss snoring as, just noise. But as the source material really lays out, it can be, well, a pretty significant clue about your overall health.
We want to help make those connections clearer. Okay, so let's start with the basics. What actually is snoring, mechanically speaking?
Okay, think of it like this. Air needs to flow smoothly through your nose and mouth when you sleep. Snoring is the sound that happens when that airflow gets, well, partially blocked.
Blocked how?
Well, the soft tissues in your throat, things like the soft palate, that's the back of the roof of your mouth, and the uvula, that dangly thing,
Uh-huh.
they start to vibrate because the air is having trouble squeezing past.
Interesting. So it's literally the sound of tissues vibrating in the airflow.
Yeah.
Okay. What causes that airway to get narrow like that? What are the common culprits?
The source points to a few key things. One is just, well, your individual anatomy, your mouth and throat structure.
Like how you're built.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Maybe you have a naturally thicker, soft palate or larger tonsils, maybe a longer uvula. These things can physically mean there's just less space back there.
Okay.
So any slight relaxation makes those tissues more likely to vibrate. It's like a narrower pipe, right? More turbulence.
That makes total sense, almost like some people are just, set up for it. What else? What else narrows things down?
Another really big one is body weight,
Mm-hmm.
particularly extra weight around the neck area. Yeah, that excess tissue literally presses on the airway from the outside. It's pretty straightforward. Mechanically, more pressure means a smaller, more collapsible airway
Right.
and more vibration.
Right. And I know, for me anyway, a stuffy nose feels like a constant battle sometimes. How does that play into it? Allergies, colds?
Oh, absolutely. Nasal congestion is a major factor.
Yeah.
If you can't breathe easily through your nose because of allergies or a cold or sinus
Yeah.
problems,
Yeah.
you're forced to breathe through your mouth. And that completely changes the airflow dynamics in the throat, making snoring, well, much more likely.
Huh. I never really thought about that direct link, but it makes sense. Mouth breathing changes things.
It really does. And interestingly, chronic mouth breathing can even be linked to other things like dental issues. Bit of a ripple effect.
Wow. Okay. What about how we sleep? Our position? I mean, I feel like I snore more on my back.
You probably do.
Oh.
Sleeping position is huge. When you lie flat on your back, gravity works against you.
Huh.
It lets your tongue and all those soft tissues in the back of your throat relax and just fall backward. And that, you guessed it, narrows the airway even more.
Right. Gravity. Simple physics, really.
Yeah. So someone might be perfectly quiet on their side, but sound like, well,
A freight train. Yeah.
exactly. When they roll onto their back.
Okay, that's pretty clear. Are there other factors, maybe things people don't think about as much?
Age is one. As we get older, our muscles naturally lose a bit of tone. That includes the throat muscles.
Oh, okay.
So we become a bit floppier during sleep, more prone to vibrating.
Right.
And then there's alcohol and sedatives,
Right, the nightcap effect.
pretty much. They relax muscles all over the body. Great for feeling sleepy, maybe, but not so great for your throat muscles. They relax too much, increasing the likelihood and often the loudness of snoring.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a real difference between, say, snoring a bit after a couple of drinks and someone who snores loudly every single night.
Absolutely critical distinction. Occasional mild snoring, probably not a huge worry, but chronic loud snoring,
Mm.
especially if it comes with other symptoms, that's often a big red flag.
A red flag for what, specifically?
That's where we need to talk about obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA.
Right, sleep apnea, it always comes up with snoring. What is the actual connection there? Why is it so important?
Well, the connection is that loud chronic snoring is like the #1 symptom of OSA. But with sleep apnea, it's more than just vibration.
Oh, yeah.
The relaxation of those throat muscles is so pronounced that the airway doesn't just narrow, it gets significantly blocked or even collapses completely, repeatedly, throughout the night.
Whoa, so you actually stop breathing?
Exactly. For brief periods, it might only be 10 seconds, maybe longer, but it did happen dozens, even hundreds of times an hour in severe cases.
Hundreds? That's startling.
It is. And the source material points out other key warning signs beyond just the snoring. that might signal apnea. Things like waking up suddenly feeling like you're gasping or choking, or waking up with a really dry mouth or a sore throat. Morning headaches are another common one.
Those headaches sound awful. What about during the day? Does it mess with your daytime functioning?
Oh, massively. That's a huge part of it. People with sleep apnea often feel incredibly tired during the day. Just this profound fatigue and sleepiness. Even if they thought they slept for 7 or 8 hours,
Mm-hmm.
they might have trouble concentrating, memory issues, even increased irritability or mood changes. If you're feeling constantly drained, it's worth considering if this might be the underlying cause. It impacts everything.
It really paints a picture. It's clearly way more than just bothering your partner. The source really hammers home getting a professional diagnosis if you suspect apnea. Why is that specific step so critical?
It's critical because untreated sleep apnea isn't just about feeling tired. It has serious long-term health consequences.
Exactly.
Well, those repeated breathing pauses and drops in blood oxygen levels put immense stress on your cardiovascular system. Over time, this significantly increases the risk of developing high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke.
Even type 2 diabetes.
Wow, okay.
So recognizing that link between what seems like just snoring and these major health risks is absolutely fundamental for, well, protecting your health down the road.
Definitely puts it in perspective. Okay, so this is serious stuff. For someone listening who thinks, okay, my snoring is pretty chronic, what can they actually do? What are some strategies they can try at home?
Right. The good news is there are things you can try. We already touched on one. Sleep position.
Sleeping on your side.
Exactly. Make a conscious effort. And the source mentions there are actually tools to help, special pillows designed to keep you on your side, or even simple things like sewing a tennis ball into the back of your pajamas. Sounds odd, but it works.
Oh, a bit low tech, but I can see how that would work. Okay, what else? Lifestyle changes. You mentioned weight earlier. Yes, weight management is often very impactful. If you're carrying extra weight, especially around the neck, losing even a modest amount can make a real difference.
How so?
It reduces that external pressure on the airway, giving it more room to stay open. Less compression, less snoring.
Makes sense. And what about that nasal congestion issue we talked about? Any simple fixes for a stuffy nose that might help snoring?
Yeah, definitely tackle the nose.
Yeah.
Using a humidifier in your bedroom can help keep nasal passages from drying out.
Okay.
Nasal strips, you put them on the outside of your nose, can physically help hold the nasal passages open.
Yeah.
Saline sprays or rinses can clear out mucus. And if allergies are the culprit, talk to your doctor or pharmacist about allergy medications. Reducing that nasal inflammation is key.
Right. Clearing the path, basically.
Exactly.
The source also mentioned limiting alcohol and sedatives before bed. Why is that so important again?
It comes back to that muscle relaxation effect. Alcohol and sedatives make your throat muscles extra relaxed, more than they normally would be during sleep.
Okay. Too relaxed.
Precisely. Which makes the airway much more likely to collapse and vibrate. So avoiding those, especially in the few hours before you go to sleep, can really help reduce snoring intensity and frequency.
Got it. And what about just general good sleep habits? Does a regular schedule help?
It certainly doesn't hurt. A consistent sleep routine, going to bed and waking up around the same time, even on weekends, helps regulate your body's internal clock.
Mm-hmm.
And having a calming bedtime routine can sometimes help reduce overall muscle tension. While maybe not a direct cure for severe snoring, it contributes to better overall sleep quality, which is always a good thing.
Okay, so those are some solid self-help steps. But what if those don't cut it? Or if sleep apnea is really suspected? What are the more medical options? CPAP came up.
Yes, CPAP. For diagnosed obstructive sleep apnea, CPAP is often the gold standard treatment. It stands for continuous positive airway pressure.
How does it work?
You wear a mask over your nose or nose and mouth connected to a small machine. That machine gently blows pressurized air into your airway all night long.
So it props the airway open.
Essentially, yes. That constant airflow acts like a splint, keeping the airway from collapsing.
Yeah.
It prevents the breathing pauses, stops the apnea, and usually eliminates the loud snoring associated with it. For many people, it's genuinely life-changing.
I can imagine. And what about those mouthguard type things, oral appliances?
Right, oral appliances. These are often a good option for people with mild to moderate snoring or perhaps mild sleep apnea. They look a bit like sports mouth guards.
Okay.
They're custom fitted by a dentist usually, and they work by gently repositioning your lower jaw and sometimes your tongue slightly forward.
And that does what?
That little shift forward helps to open up the space in the back of your throat. More space means smoother airflow, less vibration, less snoring.
Interesting. So lots of options, from simple habits to medical devices. How does someone know, though? When is it time to stop trying home remedies and actually go see a doctor?
That's a really key point. The advice from the source is pretty clear. Definitely see a healthcare professional if your snoring is persistent, especially if you've tried things like changing sleep position or managing congestion and it's not helping.
Okay.
But critically, if you have any of those major warning signs of sleep apnea, the choking or gasping at night, the extreme daytime sleepiness we talked about, don't wait, make an appointment.
And what would a doctor typically do then? How do they figure it out?
Well, they'll start by talking to you, getting your full medical history, asking about your sleep patterns, your symptoms. They'll do a physical exam, looking at your mouth and throat. Based on that, if they suspect a sleep disorder like apnea, they'll likely recommend a sleep study. Polysomnography is the technical term.
That's the overnight test in a lab.
Often, yes.
Yeah.
You go to a sleep center, get hooked up to various sensors that monitor things like your brain activity, breathing, heart rate, oxygen levels, muscle movements while you sleep. Sometimes simpler versions can be done at home now, too.
And that tells them for sure.
That's the definitive way to diagnose sleep apnea. The results show exactly what's happening with your breathing during sleep and how severe it is. And that information is crucial for guiding the right treatment plan for you.
So it's really not something to ignore or just, hope goes away on its own, especially with those red flag symptoms.
Absolutely not. The source really drives home that addressing snoring, especially if it's linked to poor sleep or apnea, isn't just about noise reduction. It's fundamental for your overall health, your energy levels, your long-term quality of life. Good sleep is just foundational.
This has been incredibly helpful, really clarifying. It's obvious that snoring, yeah, it's common, but it's definitely not always trivial. It can genuinely be a signpost pointing towards something more significant, like sleep apnea. So wrapping up this deep dive, using insights from understanding and addressing snoring for better sleep, we've seen that nightly noise can indicate serious health issues. We've walked through quite a range of strategies, too, from straightforward things like sleeping on your side to medical treatments like CPAP.
And I think the core message is really listen to your body, pay attention. If snoring is chronic, or if you have those concerning symptoms like gasping or severe daytime fatigue, don't hesitate. Seek professional advice. Better, more restful sleep is achievable.
Absolutely. It's vital. And maybe that leads us to a final thought for everyone listening. Given how something seemingly minor like snoring can be linked to pretty significant health outcomes, what other everyday habits or signals from your body might be worth a closer look for your long-term well-being? Something to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us today.